cold night air brings a strange silence to the dense forests of Alaska. But that night, something was different. While a small special ops crew was on routine patrol, their drone picked up a strange heat signature, so intense it couldn't have belonged to a human, an animal, or even a machine. The readings were jumping every second, as if something was moving non-stop. And that, too, towards the forest. The crew thought it might be an illegal mining group, as there had been 12 unexplained disappearances in the area in the previous 3 months. But as the team advanced, the GPS signal became disturbed, strange deep scratches appeared on the trees, and heavy footprints on the ground appeared, as if something monster-sized was moving parallel. The team activated their body cams because they, too, couldn't understand. Who are we chasing? A few minutes later, a loud metallic echo suddenly reverberated through the forest, and the heat signature made a complete 90-degree turn directly toward the crew. The ops commander is heard saying simply, "Whatever this is, it knows we're following it." And then the body cam footage shows only sounds, heavy breathing, the sound of breaking branches, and a dark shadow that passes in front of the camera for a few seconds. The height of that shadow was calculated to be approximately 9 to 10 feet. Experts say, this does not match any known animal. If you're thinking this is just a forest story, well, not at all. This is footage that was blocked by the U.S. Forest Division and which has now been leaked. And listen, subscribe now, because if you miss the next part, the entire story will remain incomplete. This case isn't just a mystery, it's probably a government-level cover-up. Alaska forest background. Why this place is the most mysterious. This part of Alaska appears as peaceful as it is terrifying. The forests here are so dense that sunlight barely penetrates. Locals say there's a strange unease in the air, a feeling that suggests something is here, something unseen, but always watching. Over the past 10 years, more than 40 people have disappeared without a trace in this area, and no one has ever been able to determine what happened to them. The most terrifying thing is that most disappearances always occur after nightfall. Campers, hikers, hunters, many have vanished into thin air, leaving behind only bags, footprints, and broken branches. Local authorities receive hundreds of calls each year reporting a strange low-frequency growl from the forests, as if a large wild animal was breathing. But when search teams go, they find nothing except deep scratches, half-eaten trees, and strange triangle-shaped footprints. This place's eerie reputation is so strong that even the Forest Department has sometimes halted nighttime search operations. Official reports say, wildlife is unpredictable, but locals say, this isn't wildlife, it's something else. Many people claim to have seen tall, black figures moving behind tree lines at night. There's no proof, just fear, stories, and a silence that no one can answer. These Alaskan forests are as beautiful as they are cruel. The weather here can change anything, from sunshine to snow, from ice to storm, in a matter of minutes. But locals say the weather isn't the real threat. The real danger lies in what lurks deep within these forests and only occasionally shows its signs. And it was to this very spot that a special ops team was sent on a routine patrol. But they had no idea what they were venturing into. First, heat signature detection. Strange readings found on drone. As soon as the patrol began, the team sent a surveillance drone into the air to create a thermal map of the entire area. But this is where the trouble began. As the drone flew above the forest line, its sensors detected a heat signature that spiked to 200 degrees, a temperature so high it couldn't belong to a human, bear, or machine. And the spike wasn't just staying in one place, it was moving, as if a large object was constantly moving. The drone operator immediately called the team and showed the thermal screen. The movement pattern was very strange, not straight, not even zigzag. Rather, it seemed as if something was gliding very smoothly, but very fast inside the forest. The team's first guess was that it might be an illegal mining group, as reports of gold smuggling in the area had increased in the past few months. But as the signature grew further, their suspicion turned to fear. The heat signature's speed was about 20 to 25 feet, but the temperature around it suddenly dropped to 40 degrees Celsius. This is strange, according to physics. Something so hot and yet so cold around it, it can't be natural. The team thought the armed group might be wearing a high-tech suit. So the crew turned on their night vision and body cams to record every movement. But the real shock came when the drone zoomed in and captured the heat signature. There was no clear shape in the frame, just a long, spreading hot light, as if some massive creature was emitting heat. The operator's voice trembled. "Sir, this isn't a human pattern. This is something else." And upon hearing this, the team understood. They were pursuing a target they had no clue about. All they knew was, this thing had seen them before they even arrived. Special Ops Crew Briefing. What was the real plan? Inside the base camp was a small metal cabin, its walls plastered with old maps, missing posters, and red-marked danger zones. The team was called inside. The lights were dimmed, and a satellite map of the Alaskan forest was spread out on a large wooden table in the center. The commander said in a serious tone, "This isn't a routine patrol. Something big is going on." The maps marked the spots of 17 people who had gone missing in the past 6 months, and each spot fell within the same radius. This made the team uneasy from the start. As the briefing began, short bios of the crew members appeared so the audience could connect with them. Officer Ryan, 9 years of experience, calm but an overthinker at heart. Sarah, tracker specialist, expert in animal behavior, personally disturbed by missing cases. Jackson, heavy gear operator, tough in looks but soft-hearted in friendship. Commander Hale, 22 years of experience, and the one the entire team trusts. These bios establish an emotional foundation right from the intro, making the subsequent suspense feel more impactful. The commander, pointing to the drone's strange heat signature, said, "This thing isn't human, that's clear, but we must investigate, as the disappearances may be linked." The team scanned the maps for the zone where the readings were received. Dark, dense, and, according to local legends, a no-go area. Sarah said, "If it's an illegal mining group, they'll have high-tech gear. But if it's something else, we'll have to be very careful." At the end of the briefing, the commander uttered a line that silenced everyone. "Whatever this thing is, it's moving in the same direction we're going. Meaning, it already knows we're coming." Dead silence fell over the cabin for a second. The team checked their helmets, trackers, and night cameras and tried to steady their breathing. And amidst this fear and duty, they began their entry into the jungle, from which very few people have returned. Forest entry, GPS distortion, and first evidence. As the team crossed the forest boundary, the weather suddenly cooled. There was a strange smell in the air, like a mix of wet metal and burnt wood. Ryan opened the GPS, but the screen flickered. The coordinates were constantly changing, the signal sometimes full, sometimes zero. The commander said, "This place always distorts GPS, but today, it's more aggressive." The team realized something was already interfering. Short while later, Sarah spotted the first evidence, a tall pine tree with deep, fresh claw marks on its bark. The scratches were so long, as if an 8 to 9 foot tall creature had struck it while standing. Sarah examined it closely. "This isn't a bear. Bear marks are angled. These are straight and quite deep." The team looked at each other, and tension rose. If it wasn't a bear, then what was it? Jackson's steps suddenly stopped as he continued forward. A massive footprint was visible on the ground, about 18 inches long and 5 inches deep. Such a deep mark in the soil is only left by something very heavy, at least 700–800 pounds. The shape of the footprint wasn't normal, not human-like, not animal-like. The pattern resembled something hybrid, and the team became truly uncomfortable. Jackson said softly, "This can't be an animal." The silence of the forest seemed to thicken with each step. Birds suddenly fell silent, the wind unusually still, and the trees themselves seemed to be listening to the team. Sarah suddenly heard branches break in the distance, as if something very heavy was moving sideways. But when the team looked in night vision, nothing. Just dark silhouettes. The suspense grew because the thing following them never revealed itself. The further the team progressed, the more unnatural the evidence became. The GPS's complete failure, the electronics glitching, the trees suddenly swaying, and those giant footprints disappearing in an unknown direction, all told one thing. This wasn't going to be a normal jungle mission. This was the place where people had disappeared, and, perhaps the real reason, was very close to the team today. Distant metallic echo. The first warning. The team was moving deeper into the forest when suddenly a strange sound filled the air. A long, heavy metallic echo, as if someone was banging on a giant steel door. The sound was so deep that it slightly vibrated the ground. Jackson immediately stopped and looked up at the sky. "This isn't the sound of a machine. This is something else." Sarah pulled out the sound recorder, which showed a strange wave pattern, as if the sound was coming from inside a large hollow structure. Commander Hale checked all the data on his portable tablet. The sound mapping system displayed only 2 words: source unknown. No direction was confirmed. Sometimes the sound seemed to be coming from the front, sometimes from behind, and sometimes from the extreme left of the tree line. It was a sound never heard in normal forests. It had a metallic weight, as if something massive was repeatedly colliding or a hidden underground chamber was trying to open. The team had just taken a few steps forward when the echo came again, this time even closer, and a slight breeze could be felt along with the sound. Sarah said, "This echo isn't hollow. It sounds like a hit on solid metal." Hearing this, Ryan panicked, because there was no mining shaft, no bunker, no abandoned base in that area. This meant the sound was coming from something not shown on the maps. The sound came a third time, this time so loud that it echoed deep inside the team's helmets. The sound was like a giant door closing, a long thum-like vibration. Birds immediately took flight, as if they too had sensed something amiss. The commander remained calm and said, "Everyone stay on alert. Whatever it is, it's not natural." The team knew this metallic echo was their first warning, and that too, a warning of something that had been going on unseen in this forest for years. Heat signature turns toward crew. Panic moment. As the metallic echo subsided, the drone operator radioed in panic. "Commander, the heat signature has changed. It's now moving toward the crew." The thermal map on the monitor clearly showed. The blurry, hot mass that had previously been moving in the deep zone of the forest suddenly turned a corner and began running in the team's exact direction. The movement speed was around 30 km/h, almost impossible for a normal animal. Ryan tried to stabilize his heartbeat, but his breathing alone betrayed the heightened tension. Sarah quickly adjusted her night vision goggles and looked toward the trees. The commander gave the command in a calm voice. "Weapons ready. Formation tight. This thing is approaching us." The sound of weapons clicking was clearly recorded on the body cam, and with that, a dead silence descended upon the forest, as if nature itself was watching what was about to happen. The object on the thermal screen wasn't moving in a zigzag motion. It was moving toward the crew in a straight line, as if it knew where the humans were. The temperature around it was dropping by 40–50 degrees, while its core temperature was soaring above 200 degrees. These temperature variations didn't match the physiology of any known creature. Jackson said fearfully, "If this isn't an animal, then what is it?" Suddenly, bushes shook violently, and vibrations were felt on the ground. Bodycam audio captured officers' rapid breathing, the crunch of dried leaves, and a low thumping sound like distant footsteps. The team stood steady, all weapons pointed, and suddenly the mass on the thermal map disappeared for a split second, as if it had hidden behind something. And then, thud, thud, thud. Heavy footsteps came from the tree line directly in front of the crew. The commander quietly said, "Eyes up. It's close." The team understood. They weren't just tailing anymore. The thing itself was in hunting mode toward them. And this is where the real panic began, because the game of survival had begun. Footprint analysis, size, weight, and unknown pattern. The team was moving in the direction of the sounds when Sarah suddenly stopped. A footprint on the ground stunned everyone for a few seconds. The footprint was about 18 inches long and 5 to 6 inches deep. The soil was buried so deep as if a massive creature weighing 700 to 900 pounds had passed through it. Ryan adjusted the flashlight and examined the footprint in detail. The shape was not normal at all. Neither a straight structure like a human, nor a curved one like a bear. It was a hybrid structure, like a mix of two species. Sarah measured the depth with her scale and, moving closer, said, "This doesn't match any known North American species." The tension within the team instantly increased. According to the experts' thermal reports, no creature has been documented that is both so heavy and can move so fast. But the footprint proved that whatever is in the forest, it is real. And it is in this area right now. Commander Hale said, "These prints are fresh, from at most 15 to 20 minutes ago." Hearing this, the team's adrenaline level soared. This meant that the object wasn't just nearby, but that the same metallic echo and footsteps had probably come from this creature. The team realized this wasn't just a tracking mission, but a survival mission. The direction the footprints were heading was in a densely shadowed zone, the exact same direction the thermal signature had last been moving. Night vision encounter, shadow passes, camera. The team was moving forward when suddenly Ryan's night vision camera experienced a strange glitch. The screen changed to a rapid static for 2 seconds, then normal. And the next moment, a blurry, giant shadow quickly passed in front of the frame on the body cam. The shadow was so large that the camera couldn't capture it completely. Only the silhouette of its long legs and a massive torso was visible, estimated to be about 9 to 10 feet high. Sarah said, trembling, "Did you see that? That wasn't a human." The camera audio crackled, and a low-frequency hum was recorded in the background, something like the hum of large machinery. But there was no machine here. The way shadow moved didn't resemble an animal. It had a strange elegance, smooth, swift, and absolutely silent. The camera static was so intense that the commander suspected a short circuit. But electronics specialist Jackson said, "Sir, this interference isn't natural. It's external, like some kind of electromagnetic disturbance." The team tightened their pace, weapons raised, and moved forward, keeping an eye on everything. This was their first visual encounter, and it made it clear. Whatever the creature was, it wasn't just large, it was also intelligent. It was keeping itself half visible. The abandoned campsite discovery. A few minutes after the shadow encounter, the team spotted a small clearing ahead. As they approached, they were stunned. There lay an abandoned campsite. The tent was torn, the poles bent, and the zipper completely ripped, as if someone had pulled it from inside. Backpacks were scattered on the ground, their straps torn as if they had been cut by a sharp object. Torn jackets, scattered shoes, and dark blood-like stains in the mud. All hinted at a violent struggle. Ryan found a small wallet near the tent. Inside was the ID of a missing camper, the same name that had appeared on last month's missing list. Sarah found a torn notebook, and the last line in it made her feel sick. It read, "We heard it breathing behind our tent, but when we looked, nothing was there." The air around her felt heavier, as if the forest itself was confirming that something was following them. Deep drag marks were visible in the soil behind the tent, as if something heavy had dragged a person. The trail led far into a dark valley where light was difficult to reach. The commander said in a low voice, "There was a fight at this campsite, and that thing won." The team understood that this was no longer just an investigation. This was the creature's hunting ground, and now the crew itself was on its radar. Sound recording. Low-frequency growl. The team stopped briefly near the campsite to record the surrounding area. Jackson activated his special low-frequency microphones, which can capture sounds beyond the normal human ear. The night air was chilly, and the forest was as quiet as if someone had pressed the mute button. Sarah had just put on her headphones when suddenly a strange, deep growl was heard, so low that the others felt only vibration, not sound. The growl's frequency meter showed 18 hertz, a frequency barely detectable by the human ear. Research suggests that a low frequency of 18 hertz creates a feeling of fear. The body naturally goes into panic mode. Sarah said, terrified, "This isn't the sound of a normal predator. There's some mechanical vibration mixed in." The growl was long, steady, and seemed to be coming from underground or from a very large chest cavity. Commander Hale immediately gave the others a stop signal. The growl reappeared, this time a little louder and with a slight tremble. The team thought the creature might be observing them, as the growl's tone felt like a warning, as if the forest itself was telling them not to step forward. Jackson's microphone picked up constant static, making it clear that there was also an electromagnetic disturbance around the creature. This meant this wasn't a simple case of wild animals. The third growl brought a slight vibration throughout the ground, as if a heavy object was moving somewhere. Sarah said in panic, "It's close. Very close." The air grew heavy, breathing became faster, and only that deep hum could be heard in the background. This sound recording was the team's first scientific proof that something very large, very intelligent, and very unnatural was going on in the forest. Forest trap, fallen trees, and sudden ambush. As soon as the growl ended, the team tightened their formation and began moving toward the valley. Torchlights fell in zigzag lines between the trees. Suddenly, there was a loud crack in the distance, as if a large tree had fallen with a single blow. Jackson said, "Tree fall? In this weather? Impossible." The team was just thinking about the second tree falling with a loud crash, but both times there was no sign of a heavy breeze, storm, or snowfall. The trees were falling as if something huge had pushed them down. The commander ordered everyone to get into a crouch position. The atmosphere was so tense that every step seemed loud. Ryan went near the tree's base and saw deep scratch marks on the ground, as if some heavy creature had intentionally shoveled the tree. And that's where the real ambush began. Suddenly, a heavy object weighing 80-90 kilos fell to the ground just to the team's right, with so much force that the soil flew apart and everyone instinctively retreated. Jackson approached with a flashlight and stood in shock. This is a whole tree trunk. Someone threw this. The team was shaken. No known species in the forest could throw something of that weight 30-40 feet away. And the scariest part, the thrower was nowhere to be seen. Only dark shadows and a blur of movement, as if the creature were using some tactical strategy to corner the team. Sarah felt something move behind her. Thump, thump. Very heavy footsteps, but all she saw was darkness. The commander yelled, "Stay tight! This is an ambush!" The team waved torches around, but wherever the light shone, only a long, fast-moving shadow was visible. But the shape was never clear. The creature was not clearly visible, but it was cornering the team from every angle, as if testing their reactions. Ryan's body cam recorded a loud rustling in the air, heavy breaths, and a giant, blurry figure that jumped between the trees and disappeared. For a few seconds, it felt as if the forest itself was closing in on them. The team now fully understood. This creature wasn't just big. It was dangerous. And worst of all, this ambush was only just beginning. The big reveal. Creature's partial face on body cam. After the ambush, the team slowly retreated, trying to understand the creature's movement. Ryan's body cam was flickering constantly, as if some invisible force was disturbing its frequency. Suddenly, a slight movement was seen among the trees, just a fraction of a second. But what was seen in that split-second freeze frame shook everyone to the core. The camera captured a partial face, two glowing yellow eyes, not like animal eyes, but steady and focused like those of an intelligent being. Its elongated jaw, fur stuck to the mud, and the strange twisted bone structure on its face. It looked nothing like any known species. Sarah said in a trembling voice, "This isn't a bear. This isn't a wolf. This is something completely different." Jackson zoomed the camera freeze frame and saw ridges on its face, as if someone had stitched DNA pieces together to create a hybrid creature. Experts later analyzed and concluded, natural evolution couldn't have created such a face. It probably looks like a man-made hybrid. Commander Hale simply said, "If it's man-made, then who made it? And why?" This question was enough to create panic within the team, but they couldn't stop. The creature wasn't just visible anymore. It was stalking them, playing with them, and deliberately giving them only partial glimpses, as if it wanted to keep them fearful. Government response. Area sealed overnight. The team somehow managed to move back toward base, but as morning broke, out-of-nowhere military trucks suddenly began arriving at the forest entrance. Black SUVs, green transport carriers, and two large communication units. The entire scene resembled a high-security operation underway. Within hours, the entire forest was declared a closed area. New warning signs were put up on public trails. Bear activity, do not enter. The crew was stunned to hear this. Ryan tried to explain to the officials, "Sir, that wasn't a bear. Bears don't behave with glowing eyes. Bears can't throw trees. Bears don't track humans at 30 miles/hour." But the officials didn't respond. Their tone was cold, as if they already knew everything. Sarah noticed that the soldiers were carrying scanners and devices she had never seen before. It seemed as if the government had come not to find the creature, but to contain it. Commander Hale was called into a short meeting, and upon emerging, his face was completely blank, as if someone had forbidden him from saying anything. When the team asked what happened, he simply said, "We're done here. Pack up." That day, everyone understood that it wasn't just the creature. There was something else behind it that the government wanted to keep completely hidden. Final suspense ending, missing footage and official cover-up. As the team tried to secure their recordings, Ryan noticed that the last 3 minutes of the body cam footage were missing. The files were auto-deleted, and the system logs read, "Access denied, override." Worse still, the thermal drone's most important heat signature file was also missing. Jackson tried to recover the code, but the system displayed a strange log. "Do not release this." A few days later, the same line was found in internal email leaks, as if some unknown agency had officially scrubbed everything. Sarah said, "If all this were natural, why would anyone delete the footage? Why would anyone seal the trail? Why would anyone silence the team?" Commander Hale simply said, "Some truths aren't meant to get out." And upon hearing this line, the team understood that the creature was not just dangerous, but also inconvenient, something the world shouldn't see. But the leaked fragments still exist. Some freeze frames, some audio hums, and some timestamps that the government couldn't delete. And it's from these fragments that the entire story is being revealed today. Brother, subscribe. If the next leak comes, I'll be the first to show it to you. Otherwise, this entire story will slip out of my hands.